One of the biggest things that's changed about me since I started traveling abroad and going to different places is I've started to smoke cigarettes, tobacco, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I regret about going abroad and traveling and decisions I've made in the past. When I was growing up as a kid, I didn't see my parents smoke, even though my parents were born in the 60s and they lived through that era where smoking was sort of the norm before it sort of died down in America in the 90s and early 2000s. I do remember one time seeing my mom smoke a cigarette or sneak a cigarette in the back of the house, but other than that, I never saw her smoke. My dad occasionally smoked cigars, but he never was smoking cigarettes. And in my family, I think I only have an aunt who continued to smoke later in life, like in the early 2000s and stuff that I remember. But nobody in my family was a smoker. And that's typical in America because many people have just quit. In high school and in college, I didn't smoke. Even though when I first went to university, I started seeing people smoke cigarettes for the first time, like often. And that was new for me. That was different for me. So I didn't, when it comes to marijuana, I was never into marijuana at all, really. I remember smoking marijuana a few times in university and after university, but it was never my thing. Every time I smoke marijuana, I get depressed. So I never got into it. I've never, went to buy marijuana for myself or use it. And the same also applies for tobacco. Yeah, there were a few times when I smoked like a Black and Mild, or when I, maybe bummed a cigarette from one person in university, but I never got into it. It was never my thing. When it came to drinking, I was into drinking a lot, but never got into other drugs really. So when I moved to Miami, after living there for a few years, I decided to move abroad and go watch my video about being black in Tunisia, because when I moved to Tunisia is the first time that I really lived outside of the country for a long period of time. And when I first went there and I was dating the girl who would be my first wife, now my ex-wife, I remember going to this place in Sidi Bou Said. Now, if you go to Tunisia, there's a place called Sidi Bou Said, which is a beautiful mountainous area. It's very exclusive, luxurious, and rich. And we went on a date up there to Sidi Bou Said, and we went there to this famous cafe that overlooks the water, and it sits on this cliff. And I was with Halima, which was her name, the girl I was dating, and her friend Abir. Halima didn't smoke, Abir did. Abir passes me this slim cigarette, and I just remember being so, like, I don't know, enthralled, caught up in the moment of being high up in the hills of this beautiful place in Tunisia with two beautiful women smoking a cigarette. I don't know, it just felt very James Bond-ish. It just made me feel cool. It made me, feel very relaxed. And I remember since that moment, I was like hooked on smoking. I couldn't really stop. I started smoking all the time, especially in Tunisia. And when you go abroad, you realize that other countries have very lax and relaxed laws when it comes to smoking. Like, compared to the U.S., where you cannot smoke anywhere, in fucking, North Africa, definitely, and in parts of Europe, they're very relaxed when it comes to smoking. You can smoke in cafes, restaurants, bars, out in the street, in the park. Hell, in Tunisia, I smoked in an elevator. Like, that's how free it was. And it just made me feel just very liberated, And I thought the whole time that I could stop smoking if I wanted. Like, it's not something that controls me. It's something that I'm in control of. But after some time, it wasn't, I felt like I needed the cigarette. I felt like I needed it to de-stress me or to wake me up, or to make me mentally stimulated, or just to have something to do in between, job or work, or, it was just something that that just filled the gaps and became a part of my life. It became parasitic in a way. Luckily, smoking in foreign countries is very cheap compared to the U.S. When I went to the U.S. after Corona hit, I ended up buying cigarettes there too. And cigarettes are like $10, $11 sometimes in Louisiana, where I'm from. Imagine if it was New York or LA or something like that. But when it comes to smoking, I have a lot of great memories of smoking, and I want to say that it's not all bad. Smoking is something I want to stop, but when I was in Tunisia and I was hanging out with my friends, I remember great moments of having coffee and beer, and also like great conversations and moments I've had of just silence or contemplation while smoking a cigarette. When I was in Indonesia and I was looking out on the balcony of my apartment, just considering how far I came in life and how much things had changed, I was like, wow, this cigarette was there, and it sort of just made the meditation process more real. Being out in France, needing a cigarette, in front of the Eiffel Tower. I hate that so many moments are tied to these cigarettes, but it's just a fact that that was there in my journey, The funny thing is, when I came back to the U.S., after living in Tunisia and a few other places, I go back home, and now my family had started smoking again. My dad had started smoking cigarettes again and smoking cigars more heavily. My brother, different things that I saw. And it was disappointing, because I want to stop smoking now. And back then I wanted to stop too. And I tried to fight it. And, even though I was a practicing Muslim at the time, so I wasn't drinking, I still had the bad habit of smoking cigarettes. And I remember once my dad asked me, so the Muslims say you can't drink, but you can smoke? And I said, well, everybody has to have some sort of vice, right? And it's not forbidden in the Quran. Now, actually, though, it's not good for Muslims to smoke. And a real practicing Muslim probably shouldn't be a smoker. It's not a good thing to do for your body. You're slowly killing yourself. Anyway, so I'm making this video now in Istanbul, Turkey. And I want to say that I've been struggling to put the cigarettes down. It's something that I do not want to do anymore. And also, it's something that is definitely affecting my health now, not in the long term, because I've had hypertension, for a long time. Generally, I'm pretty healthy, but I've always had high blood pressure, and that's been something that's, been on my mind all the time. And as I get older, I'm 31 now, I want to live longer and I want to live healthier. And cigarettes only exacerbate having high blood pressure. And I feel it sometimes when my heart is beating very fast when I start smoking a cigarette, or when I lay down at night and it feels like my lungs are collapsing in on themselves, and it's difficult to breathe, and I can't laugh as loud as I wanted to laugh, and I can't sing as loudly as I wanted to sing, or I can't rap my favorite songs the way that I used to rap them. So putting down the cigarettes these past few years has been very hard for me, because I put it down for a week or two and then I pick it back up, and I'm just trying to fight with willpower. But it's something that I want to accomplish. It's something I want to put my mind to and do, and it's something that I hope I can one day accomplish and look back and say that was just a chapter in time, and I'm not dependent on this parasite, this cigarette, this tobacco to get me through the day. And I won't have a cough like that anymore. So I'll end with that. Thank you for watching this video. Thanks for tuning in. Please check out my other content. My name is Simon Hill, and this has been something that's changed about me since I started traveling. Saying goodbye from Amp Sultan, Istanbul. Peace.